All those in favor? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I do have discussion on the agenda. Yeah. There were, actually, I just want to say that there were a couple of topics that the board chose. Thought that should be on here. So, being due to, we want to support more of the SIC, parents and what was something that they wanted to discuss. I will not be supporting this agenda tonight. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of tonight's approving tonight's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved 5-1. All right, next we will be standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and our flag is over there. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. The media has been properly notified. So after seeking input from the SICs, the executive committee, and that is the board officers, met, as we always do, to set the agenda. And we chose these 3 topics that are listed here on our agenda because we felt those applied to all the SICs, not just 1 or 2 or a small subgroup. So we have 3 topics: communication from districts to schools, community involvement and volunteerism in our schools, and teacher recruitment and retention. This year, the agenda setting committee also decided that we would just have 1 general discussion as opposed to breaking into subgroups that we have done sometimes in the past. So we'll start out with our first topic, and I would say we'll probably spend 20 minutes or so on each topic, and then we 20-25 minutes, something like that. We're scheduled to be here up until 7:30. So communication from district to schools, and I'll let our administrative staff open the conversation with some discussion.
Good evening, everyone. With respect to communications from schools or communications from the district to family, there's a variety of means that we utilize in order to do that. All of you probably get robocalls from me from time to time. You get emails that come home with pertinent information. There are school-related robocalls that come home. There are text messages that are sent. There's alerts that sometimes go on the website. So there's a variety of means with respect to communications. There are different preferences that are out there. Sometimes we get calls from parents who may not be getting our communications. Oftentimes, when we search into that, is because they have opted out of Bright Arrow or those communications, and so that does tend to happen, which can be fixed rather quickly. So there's a variety of means that we utilize. When there are emergencies, there are different methodologies that we utilize in terms of communicating with the home as well. A lot of times we tend to opt out to giving the communication around emergencies from the district as opposed to from the school if they are in a lockdown or that type of a setting or situation, so that we can take that off of their plate while they manage the lockdown situation. But they also can communicate. So there's different means and variety of options. Is there anything you want to add? This is Candace Bruder. She's our Chief of Communications at the district office.
No, thank you for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. We also, I'm sure many of you have seen our videos from Ron Lopes that he does. And we're very active on social media as well. And, anyways, looking forward to sharing more good news about what goes on in the schools, and, really appreciate your involvement in anything you'd like to talk about tonight.
So we'll open it up to the SICs for a comment.
Sure, does anyone have any comments or questions?
Well, I'll just start. Yeah, I'm Scott Shipsey. I'm Ladies Island Middle School, SIC chair. I like what Ron does with his videos and your communication. How can it get out more into the public? Because I think that's a part that's missing. We kind of see it inside closed doors, but that word needs to be put out in the community, in my idea.
Yeah, and that's actually something that we've been working on, and that is one thing that we have been doing via social media. But we are looking at different ways to get people involved who are just citizens and don't have children in the district. And we know that that's a key part. The other thing is, word of mouth from all of you is also very important. Like, I think the best way to share news of what's going on in the district is people that have had a good experience in the district and share with other people as well. I think we also, after the referendum, Dr. Rodriguez spoke to a lot of community groups, and we now have the contact information for those various community groups. And we have spoke with some of them about sharing our information with their respective, constituents. And I think that's going to be something very helpful for us to move forward with as well. It definitely is on our radar, and it is one of our goals for this upcoming year.
There's another component that we have initiated this year as well. It's called BCSD University. And in essence, if you're familiar with like a leadership Beaufort or leadership, South Carolina, this is something similar to that. And so we have currently about 12 people that are going through BCSD University. It's the first one. And so as we get past this particular round, then there's going to be a lot more, I think, communication around it for people that are interested. But in essence, it gives you kind of like a 360-degree look at the Beaufort County School District, right? All the way around. There's a lot that happens to carry out the work that we carry out every single day. I mean, if you think about it, you have 21,500 students coming into our schools every single morning. We either pick them up or they're dropped off. They walk in through our doors. We feed students. We teach. We feed some more. We teach again. We get them back on buses. We have a dismissal, their extracurricular programs, all sorts of things. And every day that happens like clockwork, right? But there's a lot that goes in to that. There are things behind the scenes that people don't often get to know about. Whether it's the finance department and what school funding looks like, which is very, very complicated in South Carolina. So there's a session all about that for people to understand. There's a session about our operations team, which is our transportation, our building program, our facilities, our maintenance. There's a session around academics we just had a couple nights ago, and instructional services and what they do. There's a session around communications and what they do, right? So there's an HR session and about how we operate, so that we're building ambassadors about the overall components of the school district that are out there in our community. And that's really the purpose behind that. To build ambassadors that have a full understanding or a good understanding of all the things that it takes to make an operation like a Beaufort County School District function and work. And, we're probably the largest employer in Beaufort County as an organization. Maybe the military is bigger than we are, but other than that, I think that's, so this is what we're considering a communication piece also with our community. And it'll just, every year, there's gonna be more and more and more ambassadors that will have gone through that program and have a deeper understanding. So when there are misconceptions or misinformation that's out there, there are people who are out there that can say, no, that's not right, right? And we can have more people in the community because there's so much that our school district does. Personally, I believe we're your best choice for parents. All of the opportunities and experiences that our students can get through the Beaufort County School District that others can't execute on because they don't have the scale that we have and the ability to do that. Anything else?
Yeah, I'd just be curious to hear their thoughts on ways to, I'd just be curious to hear your thoughts on different ways to reach other people in the community.
I'm Laura Jacoby. I am the SIC chair for McCracken Middle as well as for May River High School. I do want to address one thing quickly in regards to communication that's been brought up at another SIC communication was communication from the district to SICs. Right now, all that communication goes through our principals. And I understand why, because they are district employees. However, our principals are incredibly busy, and there's several other SIC chairs have asked if communication, can go directly to the SIC chairs about events like these. So, because sometimes, let's be honest, our teachers, our staff, our administrators are incredibly busy. It might be a day or two after they get information that they are able to pass it along, and that's completely understandable, but then it can sometimes put the SICs in a rough spot. Beyond that, one idea that has come up in regards to communication, and this kind of flows into the next category of community involvement and volunteerism, because I think they go hand in hand, is trying to do kind of like public information events in different areas. So we are talking about, maybe there are pockets in the Beaufort community, the Bluffton community, the Hilton Head community, to where those residents, just like you said, are not getting regular communication about the school because they're not directly tied to the school. However, we know that what goes on in the public school system is important to all of our residents. And so that's one way of getting some information out, just doing, some town hall type meetings in these different areas.
Yes. I have a question concerning yourself. Yes, I'm sorry. Good evening. My name is Gina Johnson, and I'm an SIC member at May River High School. And I have a question concerning communication with our students, being able not to reach them. There's an ongoing complaint at May River High School about not being able to communicate with our kids if we need to pick them up early or give them a message that in case of an emergency, it's difficult to get to the school as far as Wi-Fi. So my question is, I understand that the state of South Carolina has just this year invested money in broadband in areas that are broadband deficient, but also improving areas that already have the broadband. So I wanted to know, is the school board aware, or is there something happening to improve the communication with the broadband at the school? I don't know about other schools, but I know May River has an issue.
The problem at May River is your cell phone. There's no cell phone towers. The cell phone towers are weak. And what it's going to take to have new cell towers built are more subscribers. And that's, we don't have any control over that. Broadband doesn't help us. The Wi-Fi doesn't help us because it takes the cell tower to the cell phones so your children can reach you. I had the same issue when I go to May River High School. I've got to go outside, try to find a place. And it's only going to be solved when all the new houses and stuff that's going in around that area drives the demand for them to erect a cell phone tower. And that'll help it. And I wanted to mention, I'm Dick Geyer. I represent District 4, that's Port Royal and a little bit of Beaufort. And there's an informal community group that meets in Port Royal at St. Luke's Episcopal Church every Wednesday morning at 7:30. And it's an informal group that the mayor shows up occasionally, city councilman comes in, and a number of citizens come and go. And normally we have 20, 25 people. About a month ago, I said, how about let's walk over to Port Royal Elementary. And these are people that I don't think any of them had any children in the school at all. They were absolutely blown away. They did not understand the security pieces that we put in, how they got signed in, how the entryway was, secured and so on. But they went into classrooms and they showed them the robots that the kids were programming. And they said, what, you have kids programming robots? Yeah, this is the kindergarten ones. Here are the third grade robots. Here are the fifth grade robots. And they build on one another. Then they went into a classroom. Smart board blew their mind. They said, I can't imagine this. And they had a youngster programming a robot on the smart board. So it tells me that one of our biggest problems is we don't get the public into our schools. And schools have changed, as you know, as SIC people and parents, but there's a lot of folks, especially the folks that move here, retirees and so on, they haven't been in a classroom for 20, 30 years. And so that's one of the ways that we can build more connections with the community, and also the volunteer piece that we're going to talk about next. This is a way we can get volunteers. There's so much talent in this county. Former teachers, professionals, and so on, that would, if we had the opportunity, if they could see what's available, would probably come and volunteer. So those are some of the things that we're interested in. And I hope as SIC, you feel like your friends and neighbors, invite them to come down to the school. Talk to the principal and say, can I bring a group of people over? And bring them into the school. The more people that come to our schools, the more support we will have in the community. Thank you.
Hi, Jeannie Brainerd, SIC at Coosaw Elementary. Before we get too far away from communicating directly with the SIC people, I was watching the website, your website for this meeting for weeks, and it said TBD, and notifying my principal, I don't know when this is going to be, where it's going to be, when it's going to be, but we do not get direct communication. It has to go through, and as she was saying, our principals may not have the time. I mean, they're busy to send it out right away to us. So we need to get that direct communication. The second thing, it's going to sound like I'm trying to squeeze in another topic, but it really is on topic. We had a lot of discussion around the calendar at our SIC meeting. The one place where it fits here is getting the calendar communicated to parents, schools sooner in the year. People are making plans for vacations, and they need to plan around that. The calendar's not coming out as soon as it should.
For the record, I gave her that one. I got it.
What?
Right when
But she shouldn't have to. It should come directly to me.
I'm Christina Gladz, the board chair. My district is right around, the school here. I'm District 9, mostly Bluffton and, Pritchardville and Fusky Island. But I agree with you. I was just, several of us that are sitting here today, recently attended the South Carolina School Boards Association annual legislative conference and delegate assembly. And in just, talking with other school board members that were present, I think we need to move our calendar decision-making earlier. Like this gentleman was from Georgetown School District, and he was the chair of that board, and he told me they make the decision like in October, because we're not making the decision until the beginning of, it will be this coming, right after the holidays, that will be presented first in academics committee, and then it has to be approved by the board. That's a state requirement that we have to approve it. But the sooner parents can know, the better, especially with travel plans, summer plans. As we all know, everything is far less expensive if you're going to make airplane reservations, et cetera, if you do it a long time in advance. So I agree. I think that is definitely something that we should consider, is moving our calendar, vetting through academics and the board to earlier in our school years.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Mary Stratos, Chief Instructional Officer, Keeper of the Calendar. And a few other things, but with regard to the past few years, we've been rather tied with the amount of construction we've had through the referendum. So the timeliness of being able to get things out has actually been running in accord with the needs of our facilities. This coming year, we've already started the process. It is going to principals next week. We've already had internal review. Principals will have opportunity to review. We're going to go from principals into teachers, teachers out to community and parents. We'll have those options going live. We've been very lucky that our facilities, Chief of Facilities, has worked early with us early on this year. Not that he hasn't, it's just, we've had a lot of construction work here in the system. So we recognize that one of the ideas we are bringing about is an opportunity to look at more than 1 year being approved at a time. So those items will be coming forward.
I believe the last time we met as the SIC board, we talked about year round. Is that off the table? Or I know it's a sore spot, but I'll tell you, I know the early grades have enjoyed that in the past when we did that. So is that a moot issue? Is it dead, or is it something to consideration?
The state legislation, first of all, we fall within the legislation of having a calendar approved by March 30th. That is the legislation model. But there is no language regarding modified year-round calendar. I'm using the word modified, so should that model come forward, us as a district is the language that we should be utilizing. So consideration is being put forward. There's a heavy emphasis of looking at a clean 90-90 semester, so that we are able to have that opportunity, and recognizing that there is no legislation for modified year-round. Our calendars either way do get reviewed and approved by our Board of Education, and notification is given to the State Board of Education regarding our selection. So the language we use is modified for consideration, should we land there.
Thank you. I'm Chloe Gordon. I am representing all of Beaufort County. I was elected for District 2, which is part of Brook, Gautier, St. Helena, Beaufort, Ladies Island. So I'm privileged to be here tonight. Looking at the discussion about communications from the district to the schools, I'm also a former teacher and assistant principal. See my buddy here from Bluffton High School. I'm glad we have this conversation because communication is an important, very important piece of what we do. You guys communicate all the time. Sometimes we fall short. I'll take that, we do. But I know that Candace and her team, they're working hard to work on that too, but we need to hear from you. The piece that sticks with me, when we're working with our school calendars, you're right. We need to do a better job of communicating that earlier with all of you, especially parents. I think that when we're looking at the calendar, I like hearing we may be going back to the 90-90. I like that. I mean, as a teacher, that was my love. This piece is killing me. Because of parents having to get their children to different spouses or whatever's going on in their lives. This is more conducive for us as administrators and teachers or whatever, but parents lead the way. They really do, because if they don't get their kids to us, we can't teach them. And if we don't do what we need to do to be more forthright and vigilant in increasing the amount of communication. I was saddened to hear that TBD was on our website about this meeting. That should not have been, so I apologize. But we are working hard. We're working with this team. Candace is awesome and her team, and Dr. Rodriguez, and getting us here. But today, I'm glad that we're here listening to what you have to say. I've been to the SIC with Mr. Shipley here. So I know that the schools are working hard, and I know there are a lot that we need to do, but anything that you give us today, believe me, we're taking it hard, and we're looking at it very seriously. But yes, communication with you all has to be better. Thank you.
I want to go to somebody else with their hand up inside on you.
Yeah, is there anybody that'd like to speak that is not spoken? Then we can. All right, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Another piece in regards to communication from the district to schools, that is, I've had a hard time with this year, and so I'm wondering if any others have, you know, obviously when the school report cards come out, and that is a big part for all of our SICs, as to where we have a, you know, kind of an education session with our members, our parents, our community members about, A, what is the South Carolina, you know, the school report card? What is being measured? How did our school score? What is being taken into account? And because it is kind of regulated with the state, that SICs, when we're looking at their goals, we are looking at school climate is a huge issue. It's one of the three things, you know, that we're asked to really look into. And that's a big part of the school report card. It would be great. I know we kind of get things broken down. I've looked at the website as to, you know, percentages and kind of overall things. If SICs could be a little bit more educated in the actual questions that go to their teachers and students, so, and how they scored, so we know as an SIC what areas to address and therefore what action steps to take. I've been asking several different people and I can't get an answer for that, and it's a little frustrating. How am I supposed to, if school climate is one of our big goals, if we don't have the data to know what action steps to take to address these issues, it's kind of pointless.
So maybe one of our administrators should respond to that.
So there is a new, let me just back the door a little few steps first. First, we also recognize we have a new accountability system that has come in. One of our board members has already put vote a challenge for us to help educate regarding that new accountability system. We have put that through every principal, every assistant principal, everyone within the district who works with schools, says that we could be at a common language. You're asking about the school survey results. We can put forward to assist our schools to bring those results to educate, because we do training for our EPs and our principals But then we can put it as a criteria for requirement. That's an easy fix. And I'd love to hear that you want to hear more because it should be a standard operation. So I'll bring that forward to our data services department as this is an easy fix. Thank you.
In terms of school climate, my name is William Smith, and I'm a board member. I represent District 3. In terms of school climate, what do you mean by that? Could you elaborate on that?
Sure, and I don't know that I necessarily need the microphone, but,
Yeah, use it
Use it.
being broadcast.
Gotcha. Okay, so as part of, and I'm not gonna get this all correct because it is, there are several different parts of the South Carolina report card that comes out. So, there's academic parts when you're talking about performance and test scores, and then different things when you're looking at elementary and middle school versus high school's graduation rates and college and career readiness and whatnot. School climate is another area. Teachers and students are given, if I'm speaking correctly, given statewide surveys, and parents are as well, on a variety of things from school safety to student social and emotional well-being. But again, I don't know those specific questions. That's one thing I'm trying to find out. And they get a score. So it goes into, what is it, like something there's above average, good, or something, yes, several different things. But in the two schools that I represent, McCracken and May River, both schools scored below average, which was very hard to believe. So that was a big deal to the SIC, which is why we want to know exactly, what that data is so that we can then address those issues. So
Like what questions are being asked?
yes, what questions are being asked, how our teacher and student populations scored on each question. So we know, is it, do we really need to focus on safety? Do we need to focus on bullying? Do we need to focus on teacher retention? Those sorts of things. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Canvas, I can speak to. Yes, it does help as well as, and to your point, I do believe that at some point in time, we do have a report brought to the board on those, surveys. Am I correct, Mrs. Walton?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm not sure. I don't remember if it's this operation committee, which it is, but I believe that maybe you can get that information out when those surveys are given to us so that can better help you in your SIC team. But did you have anything you might want to add to that maybe in terms of that?
I think Principal Hall would like to.
Oh,
Hey guys, my name is Matt Hall, I'm principal at Bluffton Middle. So in regards to the student survey that you're speaking about, at the middle school level, we received 10 points on the state report card related to the survey that you're talking about. It is solely based off of the student responses. So yes, teachers do take the survey. Yes, parents do take a survey, but that is not factored into the overall rating of the report card. It is reported out on the report card, but it's not factored into the overall score. So we are based off of strictly the student responses to that survey. Out of all the questions that the students have to answer, and it used to be about 20 questions. It's more questions than what it used to be. But out of all the questions that the student answers, there's actually only 10 to 15 that are
13.
Is it 13? There's only 13 of the questions that are actually utilized in the calculation of your score. So what is it? It's something like 50 some odd questions, 70 some odd questions that they answer now, but only 13 of those questions are actually used in the calculation. And to answer your question directly, we know all of the questions that are asked. We actually now are being provided by our data services team, which we had not been provided in the past. There has been some change there. And so now we're getting more data really as leaders than we ever had before, which is fantastic. We actually now know how every single student even responded on the survey. Now, we're not utilizing that. No administrator should ever utilize that to be singling out kids and calling them in and saying, hey, why'd you answer this way on the survey? But it does give us insight into, hey, why would a student be feeling the way they're feeling? Now, in regards to how to attack it, I can tell you directly how I did it at Bluffton Middle School in my first year, because the year prior to coming in, Bluffton Middle scored a 0 out of 10 on that survey result. If you do not have enough students who respond to the survey, you automatically get scored 0 points. So it could have been something as simple in the year before where we didn't know a whole lot. It was in fairness to the school, we didn't know a whole lot what that survey really was all about. They simply may not have had enough student participation in the survey, and therefore they ended up with 0 points. But you're leaving 10 points off the board on your state report card. That should be an easy fix. So for me, the way I attacked it at Bluffton Middle was, number one, I presented it to our teachers. I showed them the impact that it had on our school report card. And then it was like a light bulb went off in their head, like, oh, we really need to put some effort into making sure we administer the survey. Then I presented it whole school to our entire student body in a school-wide assembly. And then we left that assembly and went straight back into our homeroom classes and took the survey. And I shared an example of a question and how it was going to be presented to them, their answer choices, and just told them, guys, you know we have a great school, so answer accordingly. We all have those classes. We all have that one teacher who we don't have a strong relationship with. That happens. That's normal. Do not answer this survey based off of that one poor relationship with one class that you made. Think about the 95% of your school experience that is positive. Keep your frame of mind in that light when you're answering this survey, because that's the fair response to your school. After 1 year, we went from 0 out of 10 to 8 out of 10. It's not rocket science.
Thank you. That's more information than I've gotten in quite a while, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm Tracy Lenise, principal at Oakity Elementary. We have some of the same understandings. What we found through the accountability manual, when we looked at what our scores were, the climate, is many of the words, the academic and the language in the survey was difficult on some of our children to understand in 3rd grade, because it's 3rd through 5th grade that takes it. And what we found is some of the words like grounds, the grounds are clean and tidy. Well, they were thinking of the ground outside. It's not clean and dirt. So we had to do some helping, especially some of our MLP students that may not have the language to understand not with the climate and how they feel about it, but understanding what they were asking them. And that helped the students be able to answer honestly. Same thing with our parents, being able to let them know, and then understanding with our parents, because we would like to increase our parent feedback on it. It comes through the Power School portal, through the forms, and just being a better communicator in how they can access it as parents. And making sure that they have the ability to even come into school and access technology if they don't have it, because it does not function well or play well with phones. So it really needs a computer, and many families don't have those at their disposal because they use their phones as their computers these days. So we try to proactively make sure that all families and parents, as well as the students, understood the questions and they had access to it. So that's something that helped us improve, because the students understood so they could answer honestly.
So why don't we have one more response on this topic, Dr. Sandusky, and then I think we should move on to the second topic, communications to how to increase volunteerism. Please go ahead.
I'm Kevin Sandusky, SIC chair at Bluffton High. I'll echo a lot of what Mr. Hall said. We make taking the survey an event. We do it through den time. We remind you it's better to be a bobcat. Don't just think about what happened today, but the whole year in total. We also have the advantage of being a high school. We engage our students in our SICs. They are active participants, and they pick up a piece of changing climate. That is one of the projects that they have taken on, and that's if you're a high school, that's something I encourage you to do.
Thank you for all those good suggestions. A lot of them seem like they'd be fairly simple to implement too. Like I can think of one of the first suggestions was, communicate directly through the SIC chairs rather than principals. We'll just send the email to SIC chairs and principals. All right, so now we're going to go on to community involvement and volunteerism in our schools. And I know board members have had discussions about this, that we really feel that we could tap in better to the many wonderful, talented people we have in our communities that don't necessarily have a direct relationship with our public schools. And as Dr. Rodriguez already mentioned tonight, he feels like or it was maybe Candace, that really when informing civic groups about the referendum projects, he had, obviously then would have a roster of those community groups, and that would be a way to engage with groups outside of our schools directly. So would you like to add anything to that, Candace?
Thank you. And speaking to that too, just as an FYI, Dr. Rodriguez over the past year has spoke to more than 75 community groups. And so he definitely does get out there and spread the word. In terms of communicating directly with the SICs, to piggyback with what you were just saying, so there is going to be, come this January, there's going to be a soft rollout of new volunteer software that HR kindly purchased. And I think it's going to be very helpful in that regard, especially for SICs. So basically, if a person wants to volunteer, right, they get their background check, and then once they're cleared for that, then they will be able to log in to the new system, and they will be able to see different events and opportunities to volunteer per school. And then they can, put in a request to participate in that. And when I say event, it could be an initiative, it could be an actual event, that kind of thing. And the SIC members can be set up in there with their own individual groups as well to communicate through that platform. And so it would be easy for the district to push send on one message and have it go to various groups in that regard. So I think the process would be a lot easier than, emailing even. Yeah. But I think that software is going to be very, very helpful. I think it'll be good for the schools as well. And the thing I'm kind of excited about it too, is that if I'm an individual in the community and I know there's a school down the street, once I get my background check cleared, I can log in and see all the opportunities. It could be like volunteering with the United Way in one of our schools, like that kind of thing. And it'll be nice for people to see all the volunteer opportunities that there are and all the things that are going on in our schools. And even just seeing that list is going to be good for people, I think, just to become more informed and obviously, become engaged.
Just on that, will there, for the rollout, will there be different opportunities to educate these public groups on how to utilize that software?
Sure, we're definitely, and we will do a media release. I mean, we will do all of our big push stuff forward. But I will say we will likely do a soft rollout earlier, as you can understand, just to make sure all the kinks and bugs are worked out of it. And then push forward with a larger rollout on that front. Sure.
My name is Dr. Novins, and I am co-chair of the SIC at Lupton High School. I also oversee one of our committees, which is titled Community Engagement. And I will say for about the past 5 years, we have worked diligently on trying to recruit community members through the chamber and through some city residents. And we've had many challenges. Are these individuals invited to be part of this group? You mentioned that you are working with a group of different individuals, or Dr. Rodriguez has met with different individuals.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he will spread the word with many of the groups that he speaks with. And if you have a group that you would like him to go speak with, he would love to do that. and we could share that information as well, of
definitely.
course. Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. That's wonderful.
So, Dr. Betts, can you share your, what have the challenges been specifically?
Well, with, the Bluffton Chamber specifically, the challenge has been that we've been told that due to the fact that we are not members of the Bluffton Chamber, that there could be challenges on identifying a member to serve on our board. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as the Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber is concerned, I believe we have someone who may be interested. However, that person has not attended a meeting in the past few months. Over the, I would say, past 5 years, we have at least had 1 or 2 representatives from Sun City on our board. After COVID, that changed. We've not had someone. We've also had challenges communicating with Sun City. So we would really appreciate some outreach there because there are so many wonderful residents in that community who could serve as volunteers in our schools. I also know that there are a number of gated communities and other communities within our area here that I believe need to have some type of a outreach to, such as I live in Hampton Hall. You know, I would love to see our Hampton Hall residents be given that opportunity to volunteer.
Thank you for that elaboration.
Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful.
School board, I'm not sure if you are, how familiar you are with, the rules of SIC and how we're supposed to create our membership. So you might or might not know that, we are suggested, required, whatnot, to have community members as part of our SIC. And the principal, technically in the handbook, it says that they are supposed to appoint those members. Obviously, the members themselves try to recruit, but that is also just echoing what she said. That is sometimes quite difficult. You're trying to find people who, I think the verbiage says, that are not connected with the school by having, a relative or staff or whatnot. So the more communication to these residents about the opportunities that they have, and also, it's a requirement, and it's very difficult sometimes to find those. And just like she said, we're at May River High School. We're right there on New Riverside, right next to Palmetto Bluff. Well, Palmetto Bluff owns the road of New Riverside that we are on. And it would be fantastic if we were able to get in there and have some representation from Palmetto Bluff onto our SIC so that they could have an idea of what we were dealing with, because traffic and stuff is a huge concern as we have student drivers.
That's one of the challenges, when I was campaigning, you get these gated communities, and it seems like they're little islands. It's very hard to get into unless you know somebody in that community who can give you the introduction. And perhaps most all of these communities have public forums or councils that meet periodically. And that would be one of the ways that we could help, if we could come out and fish for them, so we can get into these communities that they would like to help if they knew, but it's hard to get in there. But most of them have a flyer, a news, communication piece that you can get into. And oftentimes the Chamber of Commerce has that kind of contact information by gated communities. And that might be able to give you that first in to go out and recruit some folks for your SICs.
Hi. Oh, geez, sorry. Goodness gracious. I'm curious why you're the elementary chair. I was just gonna piggyback off of what you said. I know in my community, I'm part of the board with being in charge of the social activities there. So that might be something that if there's a specific community that anybody's wanting to do is just go on their individual website and see who their board of directors are, HOA president, and either start there or see what the other categories are. Because like you said, we do put out flyers, we put out, Facebook messages, email blast, things along those lines. So that might be an option to contact those members.
Yes, this is, very informative, and, I appreciate the candor and the openness with which you're expressing your questions and providing your insight. Thank you for that. I think one of the things that I've seen, in a short period of time is that I think we have to remember that humans are very social animals. Technology can make us very efficient, but we like talking to one another. And so to what Colonel Geyer said, the development I live in has 65 clubs. And they are always looking for people to come speak. I was just invited earlier today to speak to a Rotary Club. Dr. Rodriguez spoke to him in November. So there are groups that are out there that really want to know what's going on inside our walls. And let me tell you, one of the key selling points is if you have good private schools, which we do, your crime statistics decline. If you have good private schools, which we do, your housing values go up. I've moved 19 times in my career, and sometimes moving as quickly as 1 year. And as long as my wife and I abided by those two factors, plus the third one is making sure you're in a residential area that has easy access to job centers. So I guess what I'm trying to suggest is to really think about all the good things, the attributes in the public schools, and then maybe at the next SIC, you can come forward and give us a list prior to the meeting of your ideas so that we can really sort of mull those over and see what we can actually do. But this has been a great session. I'm quiet because I'm learning as you speak. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Just to clarify, you meant public schools, right?
Yeah.
You're about to run me off the
Yeah, I would like to see, I know I spoke to Mr. Smith and Ms. Gordon at our last SIC. Sometimes we get kind of locked into our own little small building and small communities. And I know board members have specific groups that you outreach to. And I think if you would send that to us, if that's legal and all, that we can feed off of that and meet. And I know we talked about that, Mr. Smith, about getting groups out on St. Helena who are out there. It's just very difficult to reach. So if you have your own email listing of those groups that meet at the church in Port Royal, we could certainly use those to maybe even join in on that.
So I want to piggyback on something that you had mentioned earlier regarding bringing people into the school. I think that is a great idea. Obviously, it needs to be done in a way and in a time that school security is considered. So, but one thing is, even if during the summer or something, start hosting, if the district could start hosting like school cluster volunteer fairs, where, so, if you're close to, for example, this cluster of Bluffton Elementary, H.E. McCracken, and Bluffton High School host a fair, and that way they can learn in person the types of ways that they can get plugged in. Now, not every area has a cluster, speaking especially Bluffton is so spread out. However, that is just one suggestion I wanted to pass along.
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for sharing their information, and you can find my information on the district website. Please feel free to reach out to me if you think of anything that you left out here or wanted further information. Happy to talk with you.
All right, since we're approaching 7 o'clock, we should move on to a very important topic, teacher recruitment and retention. Yeah, I was gonna suggest maybe Alice start the conversation. And especially, I think it's real important, a lot of you in the room realize this or already are knowledgeable about this, about how we've moved the board and the district, the starting teacher salaries to be the highest of any school district in the state. And just a few years ago, we were pitifully low on that list. And how that's going to, I think, be one factor in recruitment and retention.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Dr. Watts told you that we are now the number one district in the state of South Carolina in terms of teachers, beginning teachers. So that's a good thing. Now let me give you the bad news. In the state of South Carolina this year alone, there are more than 1,800 vacancies in classrooms across the state. So the problem of teachers, teacher recruitment, teacher retention is a global problem. It's not just a Beaufort problem. My counterpart in Richland too, and that's the Columbia area, metropolitan area, lots of things for young teachers to do, is sitting at 200 teacher vacancies. We are sitting at 47 right now. So one of the things that we had to do as a district was determine where we were in the cycle of trying to let teachers know who we were as a district. So it's just like kids, when PlayStation changes, they want a new one. So we had to change. I think all of you probably remember our big recruitment fairs at Bluffton High School. Every year we had this big, great recruitment fairs. We bring in teachers from around the area, and that was our one and done. We no longer can afford to do that. So we still have fairs. We don't have Bluffton anymore. We have virtual fairs, and we have connected with a program called Handshake. And that allows us to connect with every college and university in the country that's a member of this program. And this year alone, since January, we've connected with 1,000 colleges. And an interesting fact, I think you would be excited to know, we've had 13 campaigns with them, and that's 13 different job fairs. And it is December. And our recruiters, by the way, we have 3 of them now. And they do that all day, every day. That's all they do. That's all that they concentrate on. So through Handshake, we can create relationships with early teachers, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So they create relationships with our recruiters. So when they're finished and they're ready to come out into the market, then we already know them. They know what we have. So just some interesting statistics. We have 13 campaigns. We have sent 120,891 messages to college students across the country. We have reached 68,604 candidates through this Handshake program. And out of those people, 9,000 of those people have reviewed our jobs on our website. And we have now committed to, now in the end of the year, to have completed 113 campaigns with Handshake. Then we do our local fairs. We go to our local schools, Clemson, Georgia Southern, USC. So we still do that, but we had to make sure we were a part of the game. and we could play with the big boys. So Handshake has just really put us out there. We are constantly doing it. And when we get the teachers here, we try our best to retain them. We have lots of employee benefits that help retain teachers, and we work on improving those every day. I'll be happy to answer the questions you have.
Can you just explain, because we have parents in the room, the step system and just real briefly, so that always means that, so even like, excuse me, Beth, have a microphone.
Thank you kindly. When we were at the State School Boards Association conference, there were a presentation for this school dashboards for the state. And they were using average teacher salary as comparison between districts. And I made a comment that I think that's not a real good way to do it, because average teacher salary would be influenced very much by whether you have less experienced new teachers, and it would be lower, or you have very experienced teachers that have been teaching for 20 plus years, then your average teacher salary is going to be much higher. And the same would correlate with their the level of education, where they have a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctorate. So I really think the better way to compare among districts is with that list of what is your first year salary what is the salary for a first year teacher? Because automatically it's going to rise from that starting point via the step system. Could you maybe just briefly explain the step system?
So in the state of South Carolina, and it's governed by the state, how teachers are paid. Districts don't do that. Boards can raise teacher salaries, but the base teacher salary at the state level, I believe, is $30,000. Our base teacher salary is $50,000. So the state mandates for any district in the state, they must pay a beginning teacher that is right out of college, a bachelor's degree, and no experience. Then you go up to 28 years of experience. And you can start at a bachelor's plus 18, master's plus 30, and then a PhD. So our beginning teacher salary, $50,000. A teacher making, or a teacher on step 28 in this district with a PhD.
I think we have one in the room.
I think we have one.
Don't forget National Board.
And then National Board. Before we did the increase, I think their base or their salary was $73,000. So you work 23 years, you have your PhD, and before the board did the increase in salary, you could only make $78,000 or 73. Now I think that salary is 110, if I'm correct. But our salary schedule is on the website. You can go there at any time to look at it. And Dr. Watts, you're right. When teachers are looking to come to a district, they don't look at the average teacher salary. They say, I have 10 years with a bachelor's degree or 10 years with a master's degree. And they're going to go directly to the website, to the salary schedule, to figure out what they're going to make. So they're going to know what we're paying them before they get in front of us saying, I want to come to Coosa Elementary School. Yes.
Hi. So in another SIC related, sorry. In another SIC related meeting in regards to the district working toward developing its next 5-year strategic plan. I just wanted to bring up something that was this particular point on teacher recruitment and retention was on all of our minds, or most of our SIC chairs' minds, at least. I can't say all. And because I think in the current strategic plan, it's talking about retention of newer teachers. And we just stated how important it was to include for the next 5-year strategic plan to include recruitment and then also retention of all of our teachers, not just our teachers within the first 5 years. I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that.
Yes, the board is aware of that. In fact, January of this year, the board agreed to paying our current teachers, teachers with experience, teachers with sick days that they built up over the years before the new policy was passed. When a teacher worked with us for 30 years and retired, and they had accumulated 90 sick days, we were paying them $10 per day. In January, that changed. When they retire now, those 90 days, they will be paid 1/2 of their daily rate for those sick days. So that encourages teachers to stay in the classroom. For the teachers that are younger, that work all year long, don't take days off, and they don't use their sick days because they get 12 a year, they only use 5. Well, they have 7 days that they didn't use. At that point, we will pay them 1/2 of their daily rate for those 7 days. So in July, they get an extra check. And that is to encourage teachers to come to work and not take sick days, because the mindset is, I just as well use my day, I'm only gonna get $10. So we are actively working to retain all teachers, new, old, and very old. Experience. And we're also encourage any retirees to come back to the classroom if they want. And they get this board where the state law says, if you bring back retired teachers, you do not have to pay them on the teacher salary step schedule. You can pay them a percentage. This board says, no, we're going to pay them what every other teacher makes. So that is a big encouragement for retirees to come back.
Do you still do exit surveys when people leave?
Yes, we do.
Do you have any information you glean from those that might help us at the school level retain teachers?
We do have information, and we share that information with principals. And one of the biggest things is the workload, teacher workload. Teachers feel that they are just overworked. State requirement, state mandates. Special ed is one of our biggest concerns when it comes to teacher being worked overload. And then there's always, I'm just burnt out, I don't want to do it anymore. Teaching is hard these days. It's not like it was when I was in the classroom. It is a hard job. If you get a supportive principal, you get a good work environment in the school, teachers will stay as long as they possibly can. So that's why we work very hard to make sure they get those things and have an open line of communication so that they can share their concerns with us without retribution. Any other questions?
I'm just trying to mull over everything that's being said, because there's a lot of it that is that behind closed doors that is, something very familiar to you guys, but for some of us that are parents, we're like, oh, we just want to help. Like, I'm like, hey man, I'll make some copies, whatever you need. But there's a lot of things that we don't know what we don't know. So the question would be, is there specifics that you are aware of that trying to put into getting those volunteers from the community or parents volunteering that would be able to be utilized specifically
to help that workload be eased somewhat? I think a teacher will take anything. Even if you just came to watch the kids sit in a class for 5 minutes for them to use the bathroom, they would jump up and down for that. You can always be an assistant for a teacher. Grade papers, sort papers, copy papers, correlate papers, do notes, print them for them, make sure they get in their backpacks. Any little thing will help a teacher. If you're interested in volunteering in a teacher's class, go to the principal. Let the principal know that you're there to volunteer. They will find something for you to do. Am I right, principals in the room?
One of the things that we're looking at is affordable housing. And that is an issue for our teachers. We have a lot of development going on, and there's some affordable housing projects being planned, and some of them want our support so that they can market their affordable housing. And what we're talking to them about it is, okay, we like affordable housing, but we'd like to have some guaranteed spots for teachers. One of the problems that I've seen is some of our teachers have to live in Jasper County, Hampton County, Colton County, and drive in every day. And so that makes their already strenuous day even longer. So affordable housing is a key issue that we are looking at very, very strongly and working with the county council and with the different cities that are putting in affordable housing. There's a new affordable housing near where I live, where you can get they're just building this place. It's going to be open in about 2 months. You can get a 1-bedroom apartment, brand new, stainless steel, all the good things, for $850 a month. But you can't make more than $55,000 a year to go in there. So that's what's happening. We just have to make sure that our teachers know that, and it's going to help us in recruiting as well, to be able to say, yes, we have a job here, and yes, you can afford to live here. It also helps us recruit from, frankly, other counties and Savannah and Charleston, because they have the same issue. So that's a real big thing. And when you see that being talked about at Hilton Head and other places, affordable housing really helps especially our new teachers.
Just wanted to say, we have great teachers in our district, but they cannot do the important work without the instructional assistants and the support staff and the social workers and the nurses, and the salary study that was done that allowed parents that may have been stay-at-home or previous teachers and needed to be on a schedule or maybe in another field to go back and work in schools as instructional assistants. They were able to use some of their experiences in other jobs and other fields to increase their salary, which made it more feasible for them to live. And that was really powerful in retaining instructional assistants or special education assistants that cannot do the work that teachers do without those supports, along with honoring the social workers and the big jobs they have with our communities, and being able to understand that they're licensed professionals. So I just wanted to say kudos to the salary study and the work that was put in, because I know that huge group of employees really appreciates it.
One last thing. We are the only district in the state of South Carolina that uses handshake. You better not tell others that.
Anybody else like to make any concluding comments regarding the teacher recruitment and retention? Keep referencing the conference that several of us were at this past weekend, but you know, obviously, compensation is critical for a teacher. But it also, what Ms. Walton has already brought out too, it's not just compensation that retains teachers. You've got to have, you know, you're right, we have childcare. I mean, obviously the benefits, but feeling that you're valued and that your opinion matters and that you have a, you know, a good climate, like you said, in the school, Ms. Walton. One thing that I think really plays into, I can imagine, I'm not a teacher, but staying in a school is the discipline. It's just unreal how so many children in our community are just undisciplined. And it just, I mean, there's no other way to say it. And it's so different from when I went to school. You did not behave like that. And it's such a detriment to not just to that child, but to every other child in the classroom and the teacher. It's not a easy problem to fix, you know, quick fix, I should say. But it's really kind of frightening, the discipline or lack of it in some children. So, would you like to say anything, Dr. R? I noticed you snuck back in here. We are finishing up our discussion and it looks like we're about done.
No, just thank you. I'm trying to be in two places at one time, which meant I got to be nowhere all the time. So anyway, but thank you for being here tonight and thank you for sharing thoughts you may have shared for the board and senior staff from the district to hear. So I'll get a briefing on all of that stuff tomorrow. But I do appreciate your input and your comments as well. So I look forward to hearing them from my team. And thank you for taking time this evening to be here and share your thoughts.
The board also thanks you, especially the SIC members that are here tonight. You do so much for our schools and you're so vital to our school. And we have a number of teachers and parents and principals in the audience today, and thank you. So, it seems like we can, would anybody like to say anything before we? Okay. Yeah, Earl, you've been quiet.
My name is Earl Campbell, and I represent District Number 1, that's the northern part of the county. But the teachers I talked to, not so many here in Beaufort, but around the state, that the reason why they are leaving is not because of the pay, but because of how education has become politicized in the past couple of years. And they feel that they cannot put up with it. So that's one of the reasons. I want to thank you for what you do. And I would say that if you can get in your community, if you can get some of your churches involved with the district or with you, I think you will see that will help you a lot with communication also. Thank you.
All right, well, looks like we made it 7:20. We're out a little bit early, so we can adjourn by unanimous consent. Good night and thank you.